Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Angelique Jackson, and I'm the Business Development and Marketing Manager at Charles E. Smith Life Communities. Our organization takes pride in providing personalized care and experiences tailored to the unique needs of older adults. No matter what stage of life they're in, we offer a variety of services, including independent living at Ring House, affordable independent living at Revit's House, assisted living and memory care at Landau and Cohen Rosen houses, post-acute and long-term care at Hebrew Home of Greater Washington, primary care at Hirsch Health Center, located at Ring House, and Elder Safe Center, the first program of its kind in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area to provide community education, advocacy, and safe temporary shelter to older adults experiencing abuse. If you are interested in learning more about our residences and services, please visit our website or give us a call at the Welcome Center to schedule a tour. Our contact information is shared in the chat, so you can see that. I can reshare it again too if it's helpful. So just a few reminders before we begin. We do want to hear from you. We're excited to hear from you. So please add your questions to the chat and then make sure you're muted as a courtesy to our guest speakers and other attendees. And so again, we're so pleased that you're joining us for our second webinar of the year of this series. Today, we will be discussing Cutting the Clutter, featuring our real estate partners, Jan Brito and Laura Quigley with Capital Senior Solutions. Thank you, Jan and Laura, for joining us today, and I will hand it over to you guys.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. As Angelique said, today's topic is Cut the Clutter. And I'm Jan Brito, and my business partner is Laura Quigley. We are Capital Senior Solutions. So while we are residential realtors who can assist with the home selling process, if that should be the decision, and all that that involves, these seminars are offered monthly as a means of educating and advocating for folks either contemplating a late in life move or someone assisting a family member or friend with the process. Next slide. So I'd like to briefly tell you what qualifies Laura and I to speak to these many topics that we present as a part of this series. We found an organization called the Seniors Real Estate Institute based in Oklahoma City, and they offer a very advanced level of education for realtors who want to seriously specialize in working with older adults. So it took us about a year to get through the course, but it resulted in a designation known as Certified Senior Housing Professional. There are only about 130 of us in the entire country, and it's a very specialized skill set that we possess. We then went on to get certified as senior downsizing coaches because many of you who are on this call today might have experienced a little bit of a panic attack of sorts when you looked around your house and saw the stuff, clutter, whatever you want to label it. So we find that comes in very handy for helping folks who aren't really sure what they want to do. So you can imagine, as licensed real estate agents of 19 years, we often get questions from clients, friends, and family about how best to prepare a home for post-retirement years. Sometimes their own home, or sometimes it's for a family member, a friend, or a neighbor. It's one of the reasons we felt it important to discuss this topic as part of the seminar series, how to adapt your home to make it more suitable for your current situation and your future needs. As Angelique said, we do welcome your questions at any point during the seminar. Feel free to either raise your hand or put your questions in the chat. And I have a question for everybody that's here now. Who's here because you feel you have clutter and you'd like to declutter? Would that be everyone here? Unmute yourself if you'd like to offer a comment.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good. And for what purpose? Are you just looking to tidy up or to prepare yourself for downsizing? Or are there some of you who have decided you're definitely aging in place? It's okay if you're undecided. All right. So when you think of clutter, what comes to your mind first? And think about this in terms of your own space and not that of someone else. Anybody?
This is Patricia. I'm not running the video because I'm not dressed, but yeah, I am
Thank you.
in the process of downsizing. I am moving from Florida back to Maryland, and I just have 20 years of stuff that I've collected since I retired and moved to Florida. And the bulk of it for me is paper. I did a lot of work for the government, and I collected a lot of paper and videos and books and all that sort of stuff, and did some consulting after retiring. And I just can't seem to part with it. I just keep thinking that it's so important that I need to keep it forever. So
Yeah.
that's my major problem.
Yeah. Patricia, where in Florida are you?
I'm in the Fort Lauderdale area. It's called Lauderhill.
Okay.
It's kind of like a little suburb of Fort Lauderdale. But I actually have found an apartment in Silver Spring, Maryland, over the Christmas holidays. I was up there, and I found an apartment. It's at the Leggett, and we get that paper, the Beacon, and that's how I saw this this webinar advertised in the Beacon.
Wonderful. I was just going to offer, if it would be helpful for you to have someone like Laura and I to help you in Fort Lauderdale and provide you with resources to help you with all this decluttering, we're happy to do that. Just let us know.
Yeah, that would certainly be good information to have. So you've got my email and my phone numbers. So whichever way you want to reach out, I'd be happy to talk with you.
All right, that sounds good.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else? Are you here today just to get your clutter organized, or preparing for a move, or preparing to make maybe modifications so that you can age in place?
Hi, I also don't have my video because I'm eating and I thought that would be impolite. But I have a lot of things that I took over from my mom's house when she passed away over 20 years ago. So it's old things and my things, and I sort of would like maybe to get from you some resources of where best to share all the tchotchkes. I think that's my biggest problem. I think everybody knows that word. But
Yes.
we were successful in getting rid of record albums and books. We did that first. But now come the more sentimental and things with more of an emotional attachment. And certainly would like to repurpose them. I'm not that optimistic that things are sellable, but at least a good place to start to donate.
Sure. Well, we actually will be sharing with everyone on this call our donation resource list, and it's depending on the item you have, what charities might take it, and it's very full of great information and resources for donation points.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. All
So,
right.
Jan, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to dive in now. So I'm Laura Quigley. I'm Jan's partner. I'm so sorry that you have to listen to me like this. So Jan will probably supplement. I have a terrible cold, not COVID, but I'm really glad that we're on Zoom so that I'm not breathing on anyone. So again, we're talking about cut the clutter. And I think the word clutter itself is such a negative word, like it causes anxiety in people. I mean, the definition of clutter is a collection of things lying around in an untidy mess. So who wants that in their home? So our thought today is to just let's try to turn that negative into a positive and talk about what you can do to sort of help feel good about living in your home with your stuff, and how to remove those things that are no longer enhancing your life. So if we go to the next slide, Jan and I really believe, like, through all of these steps in life, we all need help, right? Like, doing this on our own, any stage of life is challenging. But when you look at a home that you may have lived in for, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and we've accumulated stuff. And I think Ruth, you mentioned like your sentimental stuff, you've accumulated memories that sometimes the thought of even trying to weed through that can be overwhelming. So our thought is like, let's focus on the positive. Let's focus on the things that you love and are going to come with you wherever you want to go. So let's start talking about what, how do you deal with that house full of possessions? You want to go to the next slide? There we go. I'm going to let you step in, Jan, because I'm...
Yes. All right. So what to do with all the stuff? A couple of you have mentioned that, you've been in a home for 20 years or more, and you look around and you just sort of wonder, where the heck do I start? Well, here's the burning question. How do you eat an elephant? We all know the answer to that, right? One bite at a time. So a good way to start decluttering is to just pick a closet or a drawer. How about your junk drawer in the kitchen? Who doesn't have one of those? Start with that. You'd be amazed at the treasures you could find in there. I know I have a huge closet in my dining room, and I cleaned that out last year, and I found over 24 flower vases in there. What am I doing with all those vases? I don't need that many. So start small, pick a drawer, a closet, or maybe an item. For instance, maybe you want to work on wrapping paper or photographs or hats and gloves. And think about what you want to keep, the things that you might want to set aside for family if they're interested. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Any sentimental items that you have, the things that you're going to be disposing of, other things that might be donatable to a charity, and then things that are going to be going to the transfer station. And then you might have some items of value that you would want to consider selling. But so let's talk about selling these items of value. How many of you have ever had a yard sale? Anybody? Have you enjoyed it? Do you have a good return on your time that you put in to price everything and get it all set up? Probably not.
Yeah, I've never thought about having a yard sale. It sounds like just too much work.
Yeah, it's too much work for very little return. And, if you do have items of value, consider getting an estate liquidator to come in and complimentary consultation to walk around your house and see if you might have enough of value to have an auction or perhaps an estate sale. But to try to do a yard sale on your own is really not recommended. And these items or these folks will be on our resource list that we're going to be sharing with you guys.
Jan, can I just, can you guys hear me okay? Jan, I would like to just share my personal experience with the yard sale, because I think this might hit home for some people. My mom came to visit, and we decided this would be a great idea. We would do a yard sale. I have a big front yard. We're so naive. We didn't realize there are professional yard sale people out there. This is what they do, go picking through your stuff. So the morning of the yard sale, as we were setting up the tables, people were showing up and picking up stuff and asking us questions and not allowing us to actually set it up. And people were actually trying to go inside my house. Luckily, my stepdad could sit on the front porch and be like, you can't come in. And then we found my mother was an antique dealer. So there were some items that potentially had value. And the people who come early are the ones who know what they're doing. This one gentleman took I want to say 10 to 15 items and sort of put them in a pile as if he was going to buy them all. And he kept them from the other people. And then when the professionals left and it got quiet, then he wanted to negotiate on each item, and he didn't end up buying them. So that was just us being naive, not knowing how it worked. But it was really frustrating, and all the time and effort, the fun that we thought we were going to have did not occur. It was stressful. We had to set up, we had to clean up, and we didn't make any money. So I just use that as kind of a cautionary tale. If you're thinking that sounds like fun, hire a professional to do it for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I know some people think about putting their items on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or things like that. I would caution you against that. Again, you never know who's on the other side, and it's just more work for a little return. in our opinion. Next slide, please. So one of the ways that might help you to start sorting through things is to take little colored stickies and start labeling things. Blue for what you know you want to, if you're moving, what you know you want to take with you. Maybe another color for things that you want to give to your family, things that you want to sell. You get the idea. Next slide, please. Are we still on? Oh, before we go into the decluttering questions, there were a few more things I wanted to say about your stuff. You know, how you sell these belongings depends on the amount of time and effort you commit to preparing the items for sale, advertising their availability, and managing the transactions. I mean, this is again part of the yard sale concept, just another reason why we don't think it's a good idea for you to do that. And in terms of what's hot at estate sales, that varies from year to year. And if you're considering one, we recommend that you ask a professional to look over what you have and determine what will sell best, as I mentioned previously. We work a lot with Daniel Sanders of For Sales LTD, sorry, FOUR Sales LTD. Daniel will come over and complimentary look around your home, tell you if you have anything of value, and perhaps he may take some things off site to be auctioned, or if you have enough and you're amenable to it and the circumstances allow, perhaps an estate sale at your home. But we know you're going to be surprised at what is and isn't valuable. As a matter of fact, Ringhouse is hosting Daniel Sanders in April for an appraisals roadshow. I know everybody's familiar with Antiques Roadshow on PBS, right? Well, this is a similar concept, but we had to change the name for copyright purposes. And this is an event where you can bring your item of value to the Ringhouse and have Daniel assess it on the spot. We would like to have people send photos of the items in advance so he can do whatever research he needs to do. But we've done this before. It's a really fun event, and it's really enlightening to see what does and does not have value. Who remembers the Beanie Babies craze back in the 90s or something? I still have a big plastic bin full of Beanie Babies that I thought was going to pay for my retirement. Well, here's actually, I have my little pug right here, and he's not worth anything, but he's cute. So, you know, and then there's coin collections that you think might have a lot of value. I remember at the last time we did this, somebody brought a coin collection, and we really thought it was going to be worth a lot, but the guy, he held up the dime and he goes, yep, this is a dime, it's worth 10 cents. So it's really enlightening. So consider attending that event to get your valuables assessed. So you definitely have to figure that out before you decide to have a sale. Antiques are really difficult to value. And Laura has some experience with that with her mother being an antiques dealer. But again, it takes a special eye to know what does and does not have value. And the folks who work in this industry, you know, they'll just walk in and tell you in a second, yes or no, this has value. So it can be very, very interesting.
And an important thing to note, if you were to engage Daniel Sanders to come to your home and take a look, he does not charge for that. He actually offers two services. One would be to come and tell you if you have things of value and whether or not he could sell them. But he will also come, and he does charge a fee to actually do appraisals on all of your items. And if he does the appraisals on your items, then he will not take them to sell, because that's a conflict of interest. But we find him very fair and honest. And if he comes and he doesn't feel like there's enough items to go to an auction, the next step is Jan and I have very reputable estate sale people we work with that you could interview, and they would come and give you a sense of what they might be able to do, either having a sale in your home or taking some of your items to another sale that they were having. But should we jump into the questions, Jan?
Well, just before we continue, I wanted to see if there were any questions or comments on stuff, because I know that that's a huge topic for everybody who is going through this process. Unmute yourself or put your questions in the chat or comments. And if there are none, we'll go ahead and move on to typical questions. Laura, you want to kick it off?
Yes. So I love this. These are questions that we've gotten at seminars. So we're like, let's just address them up front. The first one I love is, when is the best time to declutter? Well, today. I mean, I look at it as like, if you look around your home and you don't feel comfortable, you feel like there's too much stuff, that impacts your life. That impacts your mentally, physically, emotionally, like if you feel like stressed in your own living environment. So to what Jan said earlier, like you can start decluttering today. You could open, like she said, you could open that junk drawer in your kitchen and you could just do that today and you would have a sense of accomplishment. Or a closet, or even if you sat down and made a list, here's the places in my house that don't feel good or annoy me. Like in my house, you walk in the back door and we have a coat closet. And I don't even think there's coats in there. There's just stuff, people come in like grocery, but I don't even know. And it irritates me. So that would be probably my first step. And maybe it will be to just open those doors and look at it and say, like, how long would it take me? What, 20 minutes, half hour to start pulling stuff out? If there's coats in there that haven't been worn in the last few years, why do I have them? There are people out there that could wear them and could use them. So the best time to declutter is now, as soon as you feel like it would help your life. What are
Can I add something here?
Sure.
Somebody mentioned, it might have been Ruthie, about the memories that come up when you start going through things. There's a really good book that we recommend by Matt Paxton, who has a couple of shows on PBS. Hoarding is one of them, and I forgot what the other one is. Listers. But the book is called Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. So as you go through items, they're going to bring up memories. And it's okay to sit with that item for a little while and enjoy those memories, and maybe even share them verbally with a friend, a neighbor, a family member, and get those positive feelings from the memories, and then let it go. If it's something that is really not going to do you service by keeping and adding to your clutter. It's called Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff by Matt Paxton.
So that ties into the next question, Jan, like what are the short and long-term benefits of decluttering? Well, short-term, I think, is just the good feeling you get when you've, like, for example, I use Pickup Please. I get an email about once a month and they say, there's going to be a truck on your street. And when I put a bag of things out that I know someone's going to reuse, not only is it short-term benefit if it's less stuff in my house, but it just makes me feel good. Like I am doing something good in the world. The long-term benefits of decluttering are really how you use your space within your home. You may have a bedroom like I do upstairs for a child who's moved out, who's in his 30s. Well, if I cleaned that out, that could create another space in my home for me to use for my own purposes. Maybe a home office for my husband, so he doesn't try to sit in here with me when I'm working. So that longer term benefit of using all the space you have in the best way possible. And then what are some of the challenges or obstacles people face? Well, back to what Jan said, I find that's the emotional piece. I always think of the Marie Kondo approach, if you haven't heard of that. Her approach is, let's say, for example, you're going through your closet. You would pick up an item and you would sit with it and you'd look at it and you'd say, do I wear this item? And does it bring me joy when I wear this item? And if the answer is no to those questions, put it aside. But sometimes the obstacle could be is you could get totally lost in that memory and that being sentimental or thinking about something that you don't make it through the closet. You make it through a couple items. So I find that can be sort of a challenge or an obstacle, is the finding the memory, thinking about the memory, and then being able to let go. And if you can't let go, then keep the item. It's not time, if that makes sense.
Laura, speaking of closets, remember that one tip we heard from somebody about when you wear an item, turn the hanger backwards?
So what the tip is, go to your closet today and hang all of your clothes in the same direction. Okay, so all of your clothes hang the same direction. Then each time you wear an item, hang it up the opposite direction. And then in like a month, 2 months, 3 months, look at your closet. And if you have a lot of items facing this way, that means you haven't worn them in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. And those are items you can easily let go of because you're clearly not wearing them. And that's assuming that you have like a closet of summer items or fall items. But yeah, I love that. I actually do that in my closet. And I'm at the point in my life where if it's something that's hanging the opposite way, I force myself to wear it. And if I find I didn't feel comfortable or I didn't like how I looked, it goes. I wash it and it's gone. Because why is it taking up space?
I was helping a family recently help the dad downsize, and he had like a dozen or so pairs of black socks from when he worked for a living. And once he retired, he only wore white socks with sneakers and didn't need all those black socks. So, the daughter's like, Dad, you have too many pairs of black socks. You really don't need this many. And he's like, well, but what if I need them? And she said, well, maybe you could do with just 2 or 3 pair instead of a dozen. And so it's simple things like that, think about are you really going to use the items? And if you have more than one, do you really need more than 1 or 2? So start small.
I just want to jump in because there was a question in the chat about books. I don't know where everybody lives, but I do know right now, Walter Johnson is collecting books for their annual book sale.
High school in Bethesda.
Yeah, in Bethesda. You can drop them off this weekend, but you can actually drop them off at any time at the loading dock or go to the front office and someone will come and carry them out of your car for you. So that's kind of like an immediate thing that's happening right now.
Also, the public library is happy to take your books. The only thing is they don't have people to help you unload them from your car to the building. But I know I took a dozen boxes last year of books to the library. They're very happy to accept them as well.
So sorry to jump in with that, but
No.
books are always an issue because
everybody has lots of books and photographs, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to jump in with their own challenges or obstacles that you've encountered as you start this process? Anything you'd like to share? All righty then, we'll keep going. Next slide for some more questions. So what can happen when people let clutter go to the point of over-clutter, like chronic disorganization or hoarding? Well, there's a lot involved in that. Hoarding is of concern, of course, because there's some emotional issues behind the reason a person hoards. And in a hoarding situation, it can certainly become a health concern because as things accumulate in a home to the point of hoarding, there could be critters running around. There could be fire hazards. So if someone is to the point of being a hoarder, they should probably seek out some professional help with that process, because it's certainly beyond the pay grade of me and Laura. We're not hoarding experts. We certainly help people on a daily basis declutter and downsize, but hoarding is a little bit of a more serious concern. Now, chronic disorganization, maybe you really do just have lots of over-cluttering and piles of stuff, but you're not a hoarder. You might consider engaging the services of a professional organizer. This is someone who can come in and take your papers and try to put them in stacks and decide, what you really need to hold on to, record retention, that kind of stuff. What could be digitized so you eliminate the piles of paper, that kind of thing. Speaking of record retention, typically you're looking at tax records, I believe, for most people. And I think the norm is, I believe, 7 years, unless that's been changed. I know many people have a lot of work papers from when they worked and they're hesitant to give them up. Maybe they're papers that you've authored or reports that you were involved in. And they do have a lot of sentimental value and probably bring you a lot of professional pride to look back on your accomplishments. But, think about how you could use this stuff going forward. And do you really need to hold on to it? The idea of keep the memories, lose the stuff, remember the experience and then let it go. Laura, yeah.
I wanted to jump in about record retention, and I have to do this because we're realtors. It's really important if you can find and keep the documents associated with whatever work you may have done on your homes over the years, any improvements you've made. A couple of reasons. One is when you go to sell your home, that you may have capital gains, which would be reduced by the amount of money, potentially the amount of money you've put into your home. But the second is when we go to sell your home, buyers are going to want to know how old everything is. How old is the roof? How old are the systems? And it's really great to have documentation to say, here's when we did those things. And it may, help with an offer when someone knows items are newer rather than older. So just when you're going through if you're throwing out papers, please don't, sometimes adult children, the first thing they do is throw away all the papers in their parents' offices. Please keep the papers associated with your home. That makes sense?
Yeah, and while we're talking about paper, think about where you have stored your important documents, like your will, your health directives, any powers of attorney you might have. Definitely make sure those don't get thrown out. But while you're decluttering, when you find that stuff, make sure you're keeping it in a place that is safe, and that for instance, the beneficiaries or the trustees or the personal representatives also have a copy of it, or your attorney, for instance. But make sure it's in an all-in-one place in your home, in a safe place. Any questions about what we've covered so far? And we're caught up on all the questions, I believe, in the chat. Other folks are sharing resources where you can drop off books. Friends of the Library in Rockville. Blake High School is running a book sale next week. That's good to know. So, and then another question we're showing on our slide, can some clutter have value, or is all clutter trash? Well, we've talked a lot about that, and it's a little bit of both, I think. It depends on what you've got. So, and next slide, Jesse. All right.
So we've talked about some of these already. And, who determines value? Clearly, there are experts out there that can tell you in today's market what will sell. One example would be mid-century modern furniture is very popular. And the opposite example is all my mother's beautiful antiques, her wooden primitive antiques, are not popular. So I may keep them till they become popular again. I don't know, but that's why it's important to bring a professional in. We talked about having an estate sale. Oftentimes people believe estate sales happen after someone is deceased. That's not the case. Many people have estate sales. They either there's different ways to do an estate sale. You can have an estate sale in your home. You can work with an estate sale person who will take your items to another sale, so you're not disturbed at home. And there's estate sale people who do just online auctions and manage the whole estate sale for you. So there's lots of options to think about.
Yeah, I think it might be good at this point to bring up the concept of professional move managers. For those of you who are decluttering for purposes of moving, professional move managers are people who can come in and help you do all that labeling we talked about earlier, and sorting and packing. And if you have the floor plan of your new residence, they can help you map out what furniture you want to take with you and what will fit and where it will go. And then they can arrange to get your items to donation points, or shipped to family members, or taken to the transfer station, whatever's needed. So it's a really valuable service that takes a lot of the pressure off of you, and it makes it a lot more of a streamlined process. And of course, they'll work at your pace. Nobody wants to be rushed with this because it's a major transition. So
I can give an example of clients we're working with right now. They called me last night. They just, the moving truck left yesterday to go to their new home in Virginia. Today the move managers will help them unpack and set everything up. Then they're going to wait a couple days just to make sure that they brought everything they wanted to bring. Then the move management company will go back to their previous home and start to disperse everything that's there. So it's a nice coordinated effort. And when the move management company goes back and takes the things to donation or to trash, sometimes they will actually be shipping items to family members. The people that have moved feel really confident that they took with them what they wanted and they let go of the other items.
Alexandra is asking to provide the name of the company you just mentioned. Alexandra, are you referring to the professional move manager? Or was it Daniel Sanders?
Yeah, hi, thank you. No, not the mover that you just said. It was before she started talking about the mover.
Probably with Daniel Sanders with For Sales, who does estate.
Yes, I think that's it. Yes, yes.
I'll put his name in the chat.
Thank you.
And,
So-
and I would be interested in the mover
Well-
manager.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually have a slide coming up with a bunch of options, because Jan and I are not move managers, but we have a number that we work with that we like. So
Great.
we'll talk more to you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're the realtors in the process, but we act as the hub of the wheel, connecting you with the resources you need to make your move successful, such as move managers, estate liquidators, that kind of thing. So we act as sort of as project managers, but we don't physically do the move management piece. But we have trusted partners, and we'll share their, as Laura said, we'll share their information on an upcoming slide. And in terms of what move managers charge, it's going to range from probably $75 to $85 an hour, which sounds like a lot, but when you think of the time and anguish it will save you, and the change, moving something from being overwhelming to actually being joyful, hopefully, and they can come in and do an assessment of your project and tell you approximately how many hours they think it will take, so you can budget for it. Oh, Angelique just posted a link in the chat to Daniel Sanders' website. Thank you, Angelique, for doing that.
And just to add on to the move managers, when they come and meet with you and give you the assessment, they'll basically give you like a laundry list of their services and what they offer, and you can choose what makes the most sense for your situation. Because some people want to do all the decluttering themselves. Some want the move manager to do everything. So they'll give you a clear picture of what that looks like.
Yeah,
And-
and the other thing is family members are always willing to help and have good intentions of wanting to help, but adult children typically have their own families, their own careers, their hobbies, and so forth. And how much time can they really devote to helping you? Well, if you're doing this on, planning way far ahead, maybe a year or two, well, that's fine to take a weekend here and there and get their help. But if you really want to get moving, it might be challenging to get that dedicated help from your well-intentioned family members.
I want to just talk further about one of the questions on the slide. Say, let's assume somebody's really excited about starting the process and they want to do it themselves. What are some of the areas they can start with? Well, we've already talked about the junk drawer in the kitchen, but start with something that's not daunting. Don't go to the attic as your first place to declutter, because you'll go up, you'll look, you'll close the attic door, and you'll stop, because it will feel like, wow, this is a lot. Start with the things that on a daily basis, if you had less of, would make your life easier. Like maybe go in the kitchen. How many spatulas do you have? How many, do you have more than one hand mixer? Like that kind of stuff. You only need one of every item. So start like the things that are going to show you immediate results and are not going to cause anxiety. So once you sort of get through that, pretty soon that attic or that garage or the basement will not seem so overwhelming.
Very true. I have been, Laura and I have a club called the Senior Downsizers Club. It's a free resource. We meet the first Friday of every month on Zoom. And it's a small support group of people. Some are aging in place, some are planning a move imminently, some are 2-3 years out, but we share a lot of resources, and we assign homework every month. And Laura and I play too. So we assign ourselves homework along with our club members. And so we started the club a couple of years ago. And so I, like the dining room closet I mentioned, I did that one day, and that was so gratifying. And imagine my shock at finding those 24 flower vases. But, and I know Laura's been through a lot of the homework too. And it is a really good feeling when you accomplish that and then you move on to the next thing. And some of our members, they're so inspired, they not only do their homework, but they do something else too before the next meeting. And they come back like, you'd never believe what I did. So it's really fun.
And then
all right.
The last question on this slide is, where can people take things to be reused? I want my stuff to go to a good home. Jan and I, as Jen mentioned, we'll share our donation list with you. We look for options throughout the DC area for places for good homes for things. So we'll share that with you. That might, help you get over, the hump of where should it go. set, and it might make it easier to let go of.
Yeah, A Wider Circle is one of our favorite charities, and they will take a lot of stuff, both clothing for professional job interviews, for instance, household goods, furniture, even mattresses. However, their pickup schedule is really backlogged, so you can always go drop things off on your own, but to have stuff delivered or to have them come pick up would be challenging. But we have the answer to that. We have a guy we call our schlepper. His company is called Let George Do It, and he will charge you a flat rate per hour to come and haul stuff wherever you want it to go. He's dependable, he's honest, and it beats the costs of, for instance, a moving company if you just have stuff that needs to be hauled somewhere. So I think he might be on our resource list as well. Okay, let's see. Yep. All right, next slide. Anybody have any questions about what we've talked about?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
Okay. Are you going to give us contacts for some of these resources you've talked about, like Georgia and how to get in touch with George and how to get in touch with Daniel Sanders?
Yes, Daniel Sanders, if you can see the chat window, Maris, Daniel Sanders' website is in the chat window. Are you able to see
Let's
that?
see, if I clicked on the chat thing, but that just gives me the narrative.
Okay, we'll make sure that that gets emailed. And we're going to email everyone that's attending with our resource list. And we'll also
Okay.
put the contact information for Daniel and George if it's not already there.
Okay. I don't know if you've got my sister's information since we sort of, I registered for both of us together. Do you have the contact for Christine Chang? If not, just if you send it to me, I'll forward it to her.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, yes, we do have her contact. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Maris.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions or comments, concerns, challenges you're facing? While you're thinking about that, we wanted to share 4 different move management companies that we work closely with. They're all very good, very experienced. I would say if you're looking at hiring a move manager, interview 1 or 2, see who you feel better with, and use that person.
And
Laura,
the
anything to add to that?
I just wanted to add, like, because sometimes people get caught up on the word move, and they're like, I'm not moving. I don't need a move manager. The move managers will help you with the decluttering piece. They'll help you move items out of your home that you no longer want. So don't think you can only talk to them if you're physically moving out of your home. They offer all of these services to help you declutter and downsize within your existing home. And if this is not appealing to you, but you want some organization, as Jan mentioned, we do have professional organizers we work with that will come. They also charge an hourly rate, but they'll sit with you and go through those papers with you and help you determine what needs to be, what items you need to keep in terms of your financial papers.
So let's address the topic of aging in place. There may be folks on this call who have no intention of moving and want to age in place. Would that be any here? Any aging in placers here? No, you don't want to move? Well, just to share some resources with you, you can make modifications to your home that would make it more comfortable for you to stay there for the long term. For instance, if you don't have a main floor primary bedroom or bathroom, you might think about adding that. And in terms of paying for it, if you've lived in your home for a long time, you may have lots of equity. You could pull from that equity to pay for those sorts of improvements. And there are actually contractors who have a designation called Certified Aging in Place Specialists bestowed by the National Association of Home Builders, because this has become such a huge need for people. And when you think about the fact that every day in this country, over 10,000 people turn 65, there's a lot of us out there, and we need support and we need these types of services. So they're becoming more and more common. Think about removing scatter rugs that could be trip hazards, for instance. Although I would caution when you are rearranging furniture to be careful, because you might get used to where things are. If you get up in the middle of the night, you might trip over something if you've moved it. But you can also think about adding grab bars. And they're not your grandfather's grab bars anymore. They actually have some attractive ones now, and companies who specialize in installing things like that. So there are plenty of aging in place resources that can help you make your home safe for you to stay in if that's your choice. Let's see, we have a comment. How to switch the mindset of losing money when letting go of items. I feel like I should first attempt to sell online, but never get myself engaged to learn how. Do you discourage trying this? Actually, yes, we do discourage that. And we talked a little bit earlier about the perils of eBay and Facebook Marketplace and yard sales. And it's really not worth the time and effort that one needs to put into it for the return that you get. If you feel you have items of value, consider having Daniel Sanders come to your home and take a look and tell you if they're items of value and what that value might be. Also, Laura, tell them about Google Lens. What a great find that was.
Oh, yeah. If you, so there's an app that you can put on your phone called Google Lens. And what you do with it is you would go and let's say, take a picture. Like I have this little flower vase and I don't know, is this worth anything? So I hold up my Google Lens to it and it will pop up similar items and let me know what it is and whether it's worth anything, where I could buy it. So it might come up and say, this is worth $2 on eBay or something. Or it might come up and say, this is a, well-known, pottery designer who, did this in 1960 and it's worth lots of money. So I spend a lot of time walking around my house discovering that I don't have anything of value, just so you know.
Yeah,
But it's kind of a fun thing.
I just did my Beanie Baby, my little pug. Actually, his name is Pugsley Pug. Who knew that? But I see values ranging from $9 to $20, and here's one for $100. Oh my God, maybe I was wrong about them not having value. But this is a really fun app to play with and a great way to start for you to start finding out what might have value.
Yeah.
Another comment or question, how to value very unique items like sports paraphernalia. Again, I would use a professional like Daniel Sanders to come and estimate that, because there are some sports paraphernalia that are worth a lot of money. So, but you never know. He would be the one to know. Let's see what else we have in the chat.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Anne's question. Anne, I relate. I understand how you feel. Like you want to let go of the stuff. You know you're not using it, but you don't want to also just throw away money if it has some value. So you can do the Google Lens. You can bring in the professionals. I think education is important. Find out. And then when you, unfortunately, will most likely find out that two things. One, it probably doesn't have value. And the other sad thing that I've been finding out is all my mother's antiques her grandchildren don't want. I'm holding on to these antiques thinking that my kids are getting married and they're going to want all grandma's stuff. And it's becoming very apparent when I ask them that I get a no. They don't want it. And once I get that no, I no longer feel guilty about either selling it or just moving it out of the house because they had their opportunity. So yeah, do your homework, do your research, and it will help you feel better that either it has value or it's time to let it go to someone who might use it.
I just tried to put something in the chat, but it said it was too much information, so I couldn't post it. I was looking at our latest recap from, it was from our February Downsizers Club. We shared information about Walter Johnson's Booster Used Book Club sale. We have some resources on where to donate for coats, eyeglasses, and then some contact info for Veterans of America and Vietnam Veterans of America. This is a sample of the resources that are shared in our club, and I will break this down into smaller chunks and put it in the chat for you to see here in just a second. Laura, I think there might be another question in the chat.
Oh yeah, yes, it's a free club. We welcome anyone who wants to come. It's always the first Friday of the month. I think Angelique has put the link to our website in there, but we'll send that also. But please join us. I mean, we have a lot of laughs. We do have fun. People do share, think of it as kind of like a little support group. People will share how overwhelmed they are on things, and other members will support them and give them ideas on how they handled it. So Jan and I facilitate it, but it's really for the members to talk. And you'd be amazed how many people come to the call with great resources that we haven't even heard about. Mm-hmm. So please feel free to join us. We welcome everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And on our capitalseniorsolutions.com, on the seminars and resources page, you'll find a list of upcoming seminars as well as the Downsizers Club registration links. So it's each month you need to register anew, but the dates are all there and you just click on it and send in your registration. And then we also have a video library of past seminars that we've recorded, both on this topic, some with panel members. We also have the Downsizing Made Easy presentation that we've done. You may find all of this helpful for you as you go through this process. Did anybody have any questions for Angelique about the services and types of housing offered through Charles E. Smith Life Communities?
Yes, I welcome your questions. Thank you, Jan.
You're welcome. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Jesse. Here we go. If you are interested in having a tour, contact Angelique. She'll connect you with the counselor there that can give you a tour or answer any of your questions. Next slide. And we've talked about our Downsizers Club, 11 a.m., first Friday of every month. So the next one is March, what is it, 5th? I think so. Let's see. Oh, March 1st, actually. Friday, March 1st. I actually will not be able to be on the Downsizers Club that day because I have taken up in my late in life transition phase ballroom dancing. So I'll be competing in Tyson's Corner that weekend, and I'll be dancing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Laura will be doing that one on her own. So
How exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. Best of luck.
thank you. All right, well, if there aren't any other questions or comments, I think I'll turn it back over to Angelique to close us out.
Okay, yeah, I thought that there was one more question, but let's see. Also, it's just a comment from Anne, so thank you. So I just want to say thank you to our guest speakers, Jan and Laura. I really appreciate your time and expertise. This is a wonderful presentation, especially now we're still at the beginning of the year. I'm still trying to declutter and I have my new, goals for myself. And everyone who's attended and joined, thank you so much. I will make sure to send an email. After the event, it will have the video so you can rewatch or send to a friend, family, somebody who you think that would benefit from this, content. And everybody have a wonderful day.
Thanks
Everyone.
everyone for being here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us. I was just gonna stay on with you guys do you guys have time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
No
all
worries.
right. So I want to make sure we get everything in the post-event email.
I'm sorry, you will be emailing us a list of.
Yes, we'll send you our donations list, and then Angelique and I are gonna go through the chat now and make sure that everything in the chat gets into the email also.
Yes. We'll make sure to do that. Okay. See here. And here. Okay, I
we
think
go.
we've got them all off.